Welcome back, everyone. I'd like to start this episode and the presentation of the burst report by reminding everybody, as I do in the report, that I'm not a statistician, I'm not an accountant, I'm not pretending to be KPMG here. This is citizen journalism, and I fully expect that Irish Water will have an issue with the numbers that are presented. However, none of the authorities are doing studies like this, so I've done my best, and I'm presenting the reports to shed a bit of light on what's going on with water in Kildare. So if anybody notices something that needs to be corrected, including Irish Water, let me know. I have reached out to them for comment, and I haven't heard back. Here's the show.
Thank you for calling Uisce Éireann Customer Services. Before speaking to a customer service agent, you will now hear a list of outages affecting our customers.
Since 2014, Irish Water has been at the forefront of transforming water services in Kildare, taking over from Kildare County Council with ambitious plans and significant investments. But despite these efforts, residents have continued to face challenges with their water supply. A comprehensive report covering data from 2018 to mid-2024 reveals the scale of these issues. Now known as Uisce Éireann, the company provided me with the details of over 15,000 service tickets logged and every outage on record in Kildare since 2018. I had two main questions. How bad is it? And is it getting better or worse? Let's dive right into the details of this report and hear from our representatives. My name is Trasa Keegan, and this is the Speaker Podcast with Burst, the numbers behind Kildare's water issues.
We predict your wait time to be less than 5 minutes.
So last year, the number of service tickets logged with Uisce Éireann reached its highest level since at least 2018. But what's worse is that despite the investments made by the state in our infrastructure, outages are actually more common now than they were 6 years ago. This makes no sense in the context of rising revenue within the company. Uisce Éireann is funded by commercial rates and state funding. The level of funding left over, so their surplus after costs have been taken out, has risen over 140% since 2018. This surplus is reinvested into their projects to improve infrastructure, and yet residential customers in Kildare have seen so little real progress. We'll get into the details for the top 5 towns in a moment. But first, let's hear from a couple of our representatives who were shown an advanced copy of the Burst report. Here's Councillor Naoise Ó Cearúil, who at the time of recording is seeking nomination to run for Fianna Fáil in the next general election.
How we're finding out about it initially is just people ringing me. So I'm going down at midnight or at 4 o'clock in the morning, trying to assess the situation and getting the council and getting Irish Water on site. So it's quite frustrating in terms of the response, because we don't have a dedicated Irish Water number past the hours of 9 to 5. So there's a dedicated public direct number between those hours. There isn't after that. Now, Irish Water have also set up a motions email for anything raised by councillors at municipal or full council. But at our most recent council meeting, I've asked the council to request Irish Water to provide an emergency number for public reps, as we're the ones that are responding to most instances that happen on the ground pretty much instantaneously and immediately.
There's an outage every 2 days somewhere in Kildare, so you can imagine our councillors take a lot of calls about it. Here's Councillor Rupert Heather, who also zeroes in on communications.
This talks to the need for water infrastructure upgrades and the need for a far better system of notifying the public of outages and water quality issues. And these are both areas that I have raised several motions on, both at the municipal district level and at full council, to get better systems of communication with Uisce Éireann, to involve councillors more in being able to give information to the public, and overall improve the flow of information around water supply outages, both planned and unplanned, which is critically important for people in the community. The other thing I would like to see is a commitment made to water infrastructure upgrades as soon as possible, not only in North Kildare, but in the whole of the county.
Rupert's colleague in the Labour Party and a declared candidate for general election, Councillor Feeney, has been pursuing some answers of her own directly with the company.
Actually, quite recently, I have contacted Uisce Éireann asking them about the increased number of water outages in towns in North Kildare, Maynooth, Leixlip, Selbridge, Straffan and others of late. And I asked them to provide information as to the reason or causes of these more frequent occurrences, because myself and many locals have been asking why this is happening. I've asked in that email, is it connected to the age of certain pieces of infrastructure in the towns across North Kildare, or is it due to the increased demand with new developments? I also suggested that there might be a need for a supplementary supply for Maynooth and other towns, which would mean that if there is a major break in supply, it can be kept localised and the whole of a town will not be out. I've had an acknowledgement of that communication to Uisce Éireann, which went out on the 15th of July, but they also said in that they would log my query, and if it's a complex query, it would take time for them to get back to me. I understand that, but I look forward to getting a reply and I'll keep you posted on that.
I've shared the raw data to Angela, and the report is available publicly so you can see how your own town fares. If you want to download a copy of the report, it's at speaker.podbean.com. Please click your favourite podcast platform and follow Speaker while you're there. So look, it seems communications are a theme, and the underlying reasons for the volume of outages is already being questioned. But what about the value for money we're getting? Take a listen to independent TD Joan Collins next. Collins was speaking in the Dáil about Uisce Éireann in July. Amongst a litany of serious performance-related complaints, she told us something that was news to me, that private contractors, who are generally expensive to engage, are doing a lot of the work.
The fact is Irish Water is committed to a system of outsourcing work to private contractors. I've raised and criticised that system repeatedly in this House. The system is crumbling, it isn't working, and it's the local authority workers who are on the ground holding it together.
Her suggestion is that Uisce Éireann risk losing the valuable knowledge that the local authority workers have. As well as questioning the bonus structure within Uisce Éireann, she raised the fact that government have not yet held the promised referendum on water.
I never thought you had that intention anyway, but as you have kept saying you will hold one, I will keep asking. So do you plan to hold the referendum you promised on the public ownership and management of water in the lifetime of this government?
So moving to the report. First, let's talk about the scale of the issue. Imagine this. Every single day, more than 6 people in Kildare feel compelled to contact Uisce Éireann because of a water-related problem. Whether it's an outage, poor quality, or even leaks, that adds up to over 15,000 customer service tickets in just 6 years. That is a staggering number. But it doesn't stop there. The report highlights that nearly half of these tickets, 48%, were due to water outages. And it's not just a few unlucky households. On average, each outage affected over 800 premises and lasted about 7.6 hours. Now, think about the implications of being without water for nearly 8 hours multiple times a year. Whether you're a vulnerable user yourself, or maybe you have someone with high dependency at home, perhaps you're one of the 40,000 plus people working from home in Kildare, or maybe you're a parent. It comes as no surprise that customer frustration, as evidenced by the number of customer service tickets, was at its highest level in the 6 years covered by this study. So where are the hotspots? Well, if you live in Newbridge, Naas, Leixlip, Selbridge or Kildare Town, you've probably already guessed it. These areas were hit the hardest. Newbridge alone saw over 2,100 tickets, with a significant uptick in issues last year. Selbridge holds the record for the most number of outages last year. It's clear that these towns are bearing the brunt of the water network shortcomings. But here's where it gets really interesting. While the big towns took the spotlight, the report also sheds light on what's happening in smaller towns and villages across Kildare. Places like Maynooth, Athy, Clane, Kilcullen, and rural areas like Carbery and Donadee. These communities may not make the headlines, but they're facing serious water challenges too. Here's Councillor Ó Cearúil again, with a perspective on outages.
One thing that really stands out is the number of planned and unplanned outages. Planned outages, as frustrating as they can be, are understandable. It could be for connection reasons and also for new estates being built, or it could be roadworks, etc. And that is understandable. What is quite frustrating is the unplanned outages, and these can happen obviously at any time, at any hour, depending on what the infrastructure can handle. And we've seen in Maynooth, we've seen in Celbridge and Leaks, etc., numerous instances of mains bursting, and we've seen it recently on the Celbridge Road in Maynooth, where it flooded Rockfield, and the exact same one had burst 3-4 months previous.
Councillor Shonagh Ní Raghallaigh is a Sinn Féin councillor in one of the worst affected areas, Kildare Newbridge Municipal District. She says her party has plans to introduce a bill which would improve things.
Back in May, Sinn Féin published legislation to rein them in and hold them accountable. Noel, my predecessor, Noel Connolly, was flooded, pardon the pun, with complaints about water quality and service issues, so much so he went back to college to study water operations to understand better and get to the bottom of the delays. This new legislation could finally sort out water troubles here in Kildare by forcing Uisce Éireann to get its act together with better planning and communication when things go wrong. It requires Uisce Éireann to set up a clear plan for water outages, including special help for the vulnerable Safubal, regular updates, emergency water deliveries on time, and just rules around refunds and compensation. Basically, it's like giving them a water safety net so we don't keep getting left high and dry.
Finally, let's hear from the Mayor of Kildare, Councillor Joan Neville of Fine Gael, for whom water outages are a particular pain point.
My first motion since being re-elected was related to all the water outages across the county. I see this as a key issue impacting the daily life of Kildare residents, as water is such a basic requirement. We need it for the vulnerable, the sick, the elderly and our children. It is a basic need. Locally, we've had bursts in Hazelhatch and the main pipes into leaks up numerous times, and it's obvious significant investment is required. I assure you, as a local rep, I will continue to focus on this issue so such a basic service as water is delivered. We all know that North Kildare has had significant housing developments in the last number of years, but the services have not been delivered with the houses. This is not good enough. And across creches, social services, community facilities, transport and indeed water, I'm working to change that.
If you're curious about how your own town fared, I encourage you to read the full report. Now this brings us to the big question. What does the future hold for Kildare's water network? The report suggests that unless significant upgrades are made, and fast, we're looking at a continued decline in service reliability. More outages, more customer frustration, and ultimately a growing sense of distrust in the systems that are supposed to serve us. Looking ahead, we must prepare for the possibility that things might get worse before they get better. The report indicates that new connections, necessary for housing development, already account for a significant portion of outages. As Kildare grows, the pressure on our water network will only increase, potentially leading to more frequent disruptions. So okay, our public reps are fully tuned into the issue, but maybe they also feel a little powerless to help. Ultimately, Kildare, we are left with an exposed reality. Something is very wrong if we are not seeing an improvement at this stage. We have a set of questions for our government to answer. What is being done about the apparent lack of progress on water issues in Kildare? Are our water maintenance and repair services being performed at too high an expense? Could more be done if Uisce Éireann weren't using private contractors? Where is the promised referendum, which would enable us to take full public ownership and finally have permanent local authority staff looking after our outages? What can be done about communications with households? And how likely is it that we will see the trend of outages reduce in the coming years? We are now armed with information that has never been available before in Kildare. This September, Uisce Éireann are holding a clinic especially for councillors to attend. If you have something they need to know, get in touch with them and support their efforts to get water sorted. And get in touch with your TDs too. Ask them to bring this problem to the Dáil. After all, 15,000 customer tickets lodged directly with Uisce Éireann have not produced an improvement. Maybe it's time for us to escalate. While recording this episode, another outage in Celbridge and a further outage in Leixlip appeared on social media. Thank you for listening to the Speaker Podcast. I hope this was helpful. Please support me by clicking follow on your podcast platform and share it to friends. I'll talk to you soon again. Take care.